Welcome to our bug-free run-through of how to do this. So we are in JavaScript Fundamentals. We have this repository right here in order to complete this. So what we're going to do is we are going to click on that link. Here we arrive at this private repository that we do not want to clone. Do not click this. You want to click this right here. Now, I've already done this, but it should just say your profile name. Now you will click on your profile name, in which case you'll arrive at something that looks like this. Awesome. You're doing good. So now that you confirm that your profile name on the left is next to this fork symbol, that means you're working on your own private copy of this repository. So I'm going to click clone or download. I am going to click this copy to clipboard button. I am going to open Visual Studio Code, and I will actually close out of all these just to keep this as close as possible. Okay, so I imagine a lot of people will probably come to this screen. So now that I have what I want to clone, the question becomes, where do I clone it? So if I go to, in Visual Studio Code, open, I have access to all of my files. So I can actually go to documents. Can I pump this up? No, but I will narrate what I'm doing. So I am going to a place on my computer where I want all of my code to exist. So I just so happen to have it in this directory, and then I created this empty directory here to clone to. Let's just square. So I'm going to create an entirely new folder. Oh, there's a button right there. Entirely new. No. You got you. I'm narrating for yeah. So now when I click open, this is where I arrive. I'm at a completely empty file. Okay, we're making good progress. I am going to hit Control-Shift-P. I am on Mac. I meant Command-Shift-P. The first thing you want to do is find this command. If it's not at the top, you can simply type in terminal : select default shell. Either way, you want to arrive here and make sure that your default terminal is bash. That is super important. Once we have confirmed that, we can go ahead and hit Control tilde, and that will bring in our inline terminal. And so since we have confirmed that our default terminal is bash, you can see here that it says it's that actual version of bash. If you're a Windows user, you might see PowerShell down here. You don't want to use that. It's not what we're focusing on. So this is a completely blank directory, okay? Now you might need to log on. If you do need to log on, make sure you use your email address as your username, not your actual profile name, your email address, and I will show you where that would occur if you were doing this process step by step. So at this point, we're doing okay. We have a completely empty directory. When I type in ls, that means list selections. So I am in a folder. If I type in pwd, that means print my working directory. So you can see here, I just created this. This is an empty folder that I want all of my coding to go into. Okay, let's go back to Opera. I am on my profile in the fork that I created from G School, and I'm going to now finally click clone. I'm going to click this little clipboard button, which brings it to my clipboard. It essentially copies it for you, but yeah, trying to keep this as simple as possible. Okay, so git clone, and I paste that in. This is an empty folder. I'm already logged in, so I don't need to worry about that. This is the point where you would need to worry about logging in. It would say something like github.com blah, 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 what login with username or something like that. This is pseudocode. Please don't type this in. It's just going to error out. But once it asks for your username, use your email. Do not use your profile name. That will allow you to log in. And then you will get to this point where it allows you to clone into this repository. Cool. So
you want us to do the get clone part now?
I would hope that by this point everybody has it cloned in some place. If you can't find it, let me just finish this explanation and I'll come help you find it. But all I did was I created an empty folder. It doesn't matter where it is. I forked the challenge. I cloned my version of it. And now you can see I did that right here. I just brought it down to my local machine. So now that I'm in here, I already have it all ready to go. If you're using Visual Studio Code, this is where you can actually start opening and looking and accessing files. It's not liking that my extension doesn't work, but this is where this is going to mimic the more realistic workflow of a developer. We don't program in REPL. We don't program in the console in the browser. We code on IDEs, integrated development environments. So this is going to be our introduction to an IDE. I have chosen Visual Studio Code because I have a couple extensions I want to show. But essentially, if you were not at this point, you should be able to type in code. So let's say you're completely, let's see, let's get out of here. There's nothing going on. You don't know what's going on. If you type in ls after you clone, you should be able to type in code ccf. Pardon me, I hit the tab key to autocomplete that. Now, it opened a new instance of Visual Studio Code. But if you take a close look on this left side, this is called the File Explorer. On the left side, I all of a sudden have access to all of these exercises. Awesome.
Can you go back to what you said, type CCF?
That, oh, did I completely close out? Let me see. What did you want me to do? If I was just showcasing, like, if you had no idea what was going on, if all you had was this, you could hit Control tilde to bring up the terminal, and then as long as you have, let me see if I can do this. I know I can do it on Windows. Let's see, we go to Documents, Galvanize. What did I do? Entirely new. CCF. If I should be able to just click this. Okay. Well, here is my desktop. I have some screenshots, some other documents or whatever. Right. If you are completely lost at this point, you have no idea where any of your directories are. I will show you what to do. So you would open Visual Studio Code, and this Explorer wouldn't be there, and this wouldn't be there, right? If this would work. Okay, I'm just going to click the X. There we go. If you come to here and you're completely lost, File, Open. Now, it just so happens I conveniently ended up where I cloned my project. But if you were having trouble finding it, you can create an empty folder anywhere. It doesn't matter. I just so happen to create this folder right here. Once I find the folder that I've cloned with Git, I just click Open. And I'm guessing it's not doing anything because I already technically had it open. So at this point, you'll see this left side pop up. And you'll be able to click on these and you'll see some JavaScript, some comments. You'll see this new require keyword that I was talking about with Node. which we need to install as well. Maybe we'll save that one for another video, but for right now, we want to try and get to this point where we can use bash and git to clone our forked repository onto our local machine. Hopefully that's super straightforward. I'm going to cut the recording. Okie. So we have cloned, we are in our new directory, and I'm going to show you guys some cool nifty features now that we have Node with VS Code working. So in here, the way I would accomplish this is, if you notice up here, it says var store1 equals require. This is specific to Node. So Node comes with this require method. But if you're sitting here and you're like, okay, that doesn't really help me, it doesn't help me either. What you can do is, I think it's on Windows, it's Control. On Mac, it's Command. If you hold Command, like, so when I scroll over this, it just says this weird string. If I hold Command, I think it's Control on Windows, and I click on it, it actually brings me to that file. If you're really observant, you may have noticed all it did was just switch my file to over here. So actually, if I click back, I'm back to where I was, right? Well, if we're trying to code and we want to use this as a reference, the way we could do that is by firstly going back to exercise, and you can see up here that, let me pump this up one more. Exercise is italicized. That means if I click on another one, it's going to come in and it's also italicized. If you want to make sure that that file stays there, you double click it. Now the font has changed and I click on store one data and it opens up alongside it. This one is still italicized because I still need to double click it. Now the text goes back to normal. If I wanted to be able to reference this while I'm working on the actual project, I can go ahead and drag this over. Now I have a split screen. I'm going to hit Control tilde to get rid of my terminal, and I'm going to collapse my file explorer. And so now we have return the value 4.63 from store one as our very first challenge. So return the value from store one. Where is that value? Go ahead and look around. Now obviously you're not going to have your font this loaded up. It'll probably be easier. So it looks like if I'm looking on this left side, 4.63 is available right here. Awesome. But you may be wondering, how are we going to get these two different files to communicate with each other? The way that we would do this is actually right here. They already did it for you. Store one, if you look here, is actually the same in this other file as store one. If we scroll down, this is another node-specific method that allows you to export this file as a variable. That's what we're doing right here. I'm saying node, export this as store one. Now that we have module.exports in this file, that means we can call require on it and assign that to a variable. So if I came in here and I did, let's see, store one is readily available, but maybe we could just do console.log store one. Now, going to be a little hard to just run this because obviously there's no apparent place to run it, but I'm going to bring this back in line. Just do that by dragging. There we go. We have a little more room. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. Control tilde key. Okay. ls. I'm going to change directory into this place. List selections. Now I am going to type in npm I. You guys should do this too. We need to type in npm I because of this file right here. A package.json. If you ever see a package.json file, it's the instructions for how your computer should deal with this repository. So if we type in npm I, we can see it starts downloading things. Now there's a couple vulnerabilities in here, that's okay. If you type in npm audit fix -- force, it'll hope you know what you're doing. Luckily I do, and hopefully it fixes your vulnerabilities.
We didn't have to go into package.json.
No.
So just the npmi.
Yeah. npmi, or sorry, npm space I.
Yeah. And then slash or just enter.
Enter.
Cool.
All I did was npmi. So let me pull this up actually. Yeah, because this this repository is out of it says I fixed 2 of them. This is all I did. I went to Visual Studio Code. I opened this directory. The terminal smartly knows what directory you're in already. That's why I started here. Again, to refresh everybody's memory, I called this directory entirely new. So it starts me an entirely new. If I start a new bash terminal, well, clear. Let's just do a new one real quick. What the heck? Ocean. Yeah. If I start a brand new terminal and I type in ls, LSA is not the same thing, I'm back at my root directory because I am running the terminal outside of VS Code. That means that it's going to just start at the root directory. Inside Visual Studio Code, if you go in, it still says I'm on terminal. If you go in and you go File, Open, and you get to this point where on the File Explorer you have access to all of these, get down there. Anyway, you have access to all of these files over here. Then for example, let me just make sure I'm not doing anything crazy. So I'll just delete this terminal, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is now when I hit Control tilde, you see this? I'm going to do pwd. I'm not at the root. This is why I think this is so useful and so important, because you don't need to worry about changing your directory all the way to where you're working every single time. So I see a couple of you guys saying all I did was I'll quit just to show you. All right, open it up. I've decided I don't want to do this anymore. Let's see. Let's just get this back to that blank slate. Let's pretend like this isn't here, right? So we're back to this point, right? File, open. This is not where I want to be. Let's find the correct spot right here. CCF data structures. Again, we can open any directory on Visual Studio Code. You do not need to make sure it's an executable. It's meant to open any directories. It does not need to be executable. So I will back out again. This is an entirely new file, appropriately named. I'm going into here, and I'll just click open. Some stuff will change. You'll arrive here. The point I'm trying to make is if you don't have a terminal up and you're at this point, you hit Control tilde, and now your bash directory is already located where you need to be. So this is super useful because if I wanted to do this from my bash terminal, I would need to increase, and then I would need to do ls, okay, cd documents, cd galvanize, cd entirely new. So this is where I actually open VS Code, right? So this is all that work I just circumvented by just simply having VS Code open the terminal instead of doing it on a brand new terminal. But essentially, we're at the exact same place as we are in VS Code. You can see here, pay attention that it says G, Trevor Osborne, CCF, data, blah, 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 blah. If I type in pwd, I get entirely new, da, 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 da. If I come in here, I type in pwd, I get the exact same thing. Okay? entirely new data structures, entirely new data structures. I'm in the exact same place. As a matter of fact, if I type in git status, oh, your branch is up to date. Okay, cool. This is not a problem. It's saying that our package.json file was modified. Git status is just telling you what's changed in your program. This is saying that there are no changes to commit. We're up to date, but we have some changes that are not staged. So I can, if I want to, do this in this terminal or this terminal because we're in the same place. It literally doesn't matter. So I'll do git add, which means, let's see, right here, git add file to update what will be committed, right? Okay, a little shortcut, and now before I go into this, there's 3 parts of using git for version control. I'm recording all of this, so that's why I'm kind of like machine gun mouthing right now, and then I will come around and help you guys out. But with git, you want to add your files. Once they're added, you commit them, and then once they're committed, then you push them. So the 3 different stages are, this is when you actually decide that you want to make sure that your changes stay permanent. Commit will actually make those changes permanent. Push will send it to your remote repository online on Git. So there's 3 things, and I'll do them right now. And then after this, I'll stop the recording and come around. So we do git add. I'm going to put a period. That means just git add all of the files. Now if I type in git status, we can see I have changes to be committed. Cool. All right. So I will type in git commit. Now, git commit is a little different. You need to pass in a modifier m flag, and then you open up with 2 quotes, and then you just type some sort of message. Enter. I am guessing quite a few people are going to mess that up by doing this. You open it up and you start typing, and then you don't close it. You end up here. And oh no, what do I do? I'm doomed. Control C. ls git status. Status. Right. So it kept my changes. We're still committed. We're doing good. Finally, this is all on my local machine. If I want to finally show my changes online, I would do git push. Let's go check out that repository real quick before I turn this off. Refresh, some sort of message. I just did those changes on my local PC. I committed with this message. As you can see here, commit. We have an additional commit from me. And I typed in some sort of message. There you go, just changed my Mocha dependency. Awesome. Pardon me. Wait, where is it? Terminal, come back. Again, all I did, starting up here, let me pump this down a bit, make this full screen. I typed in initially git status. It said your branch is up to date with your remote. This is your remote branch, right? So what's origin master, you might be wondering? Let's go back. Right here. This is origin master. It's the origin, it's the master branch. That's all that means. You don't need to worry about that though. It's just saying that right now there is no change between the work that I have online and the work I have locally. So after I typed in git status, it said that you have changes. Oh, that's not what I have to do. Changes that are not staged for commit. So then it tells you right here, use git add file to update what will be committed. Use git checkout dash file to discard changes. So don't worry about discarding your changes. Don't worry about this right now. Obviously, we don't want to be throwing away our changes just yet. Once we're more advanced with Git, then we can start doing more advanced stuff like git stash, you know, whatever may come about. But for now, it's just I did git status in this CCF data structures. told me it's up to date, but I do have changes that are modified. All right. I typed in get status again. However, this time I did this shortcut, get add with a period, allows you to add every file that has been changed. That's all I typed in. Once I typed that in, it just brought me back to a blank terminal again, and I typed in get status. Now get status is saying something else. It's saying your branch is up to date with origin master, but I have changes to be committed. So what I did was I typed in get commit with the M flag, which tells the computer that you're going to enter in your commit message. I threw it in between two quotes. I showcase what you can do to get out if you forget to do the last quote. Again, it's Control-C. I will do it again at the end of this. I did ls, get status. Finally, it says your branch is ahead of origin master. So this whole time, it was telling us your branch is up to date. Your branch is up to date. And then finally, when we commit our changes, it realizes that we are ahead of our online repository by one commit. Use git push to publish your local commits, and that's exactly what I typed in here. And coincidentally, now we have my message right here with some sort of message.